Hello everyone, we are here with the 15th episode of Road to Superbowl podcast and a show that's about to take you behind the eyes of GM of every single team in the NFL to try to give you a look or maybe a different perspective on your team, because we're trying to see not only if this player is good, if this player is bad, like is he going to rise up or is he going to decline, how many games we will win, but also the perspective of general management, like where we are in our Super Bowl window, where we are in terms of quality of our starters given the money we are paying them, and perhaps with some guys on rookie deal, like what should we decide to go and do with them going forward, as well as looking at the draft, looking at the free agency. All of that is part of this show. We are entering 2-minute warning of the first half of the 15th episode, and while this was the time that in Seattle you would definitely let the Russ cook, there is no Russ anymore. Yeah, I'm not sure about his cooking abilities, but it's definitely, if you guys know me, or if you follow this channel, or if you just look at my badge, this is a special episode to me because I am a 12 man, I am a Seahawks fan, huge one. I've decided not to take many props here. I only have my ball here. So, other than that, I will try to be as objective as I can. It's not like I'm not going to say to you that Seahawks are the best team in the world, because they absolutely are. But that's in terms of who you should root for. I honestly feel like Seahawks are the team. But in terms of are they the best on the pitch right now? Or will they be in the near future? Yeah, it's much more complicated debate, and I would easily have to say no, because I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is not the perfect situation. This is not dynasty, in the middle. Maybe it's in the making. Maybe it is. I hope as a fan, but as a GM and as a purpose of this show, we are gonna hit on some weaknesses or some strengths that Seahawks have, and we try to do that as unbiased as possible. So, for you newcomers, for you new viewers, how are we approaching things right here? So first we will do rundown of like the past season, so 2023. Then we'll talk about free agency that this team had in terms of like this year. Then rundown of the entire roster, because if you want to be a GM or if you want to play to be one, like you need to understand what kind of players you have, where are you with their contracts, and what you should like optimize going forward. So it's absolutely important to actually assess the players you have. But like the addition, what this show will do for you is we not only will give them grades, but we will also give that grades in the grades will be impartial to how much the player cost, but the player cost will be definitely a decisive factor if we to say like this is the guy we are happy to have on the roster for this type of money, because you can have good player, but for an absolutely ridiculous money, you just aren't happy to have him on the roster. And then you can have bad player for tiny amount of money, and you could be happy because he is a good filler for what you need, and you are not paying much money for that. So that's the adding different perspective to what you can usually get when you look at any team in the NFL and try to assess their squad. During that, we do it by running it through the 5 groups, which is weaponry, consisting of wide receivers, tight ends, quarterback or quarterbacks, and running backs. O-line, kind of self-explanatory. D-line, we add linebackers into this group. Secondary, consisting of safeties and cornerbacks, and then coaches and special teams within one group. We, for 90% of the time, only talk about the head coach and the coordinators. Sometimes we bring a special non-offensive or defensive coordinator guy into the mix and explain why it's really good that he is out there. with special teams, obviously, it's punters and kickers. I'm not focusing on long snappers or punt returners. This really is not my specialty, so I just limited myself to punters and kickers. With that, we have for every single team at least, but at this point it is 3 topics that will be either discussed as separate topics, or you will see me talking about them through the rundown, through the free agency, through the 2023 season recap. And for Seahawks, these topics are Pete Carroll, obviously end of an era here in Seattle. I have not, because I'm a fan, 11 years. Yeah, I've started, you can call me a bandwagon fan if you want to, but remember that in other USA sports, I'm rooting for CBJ, aka Columbus Blue Jackets. They were never successful. I'm rooting for Timberwolves, not from this season, but it's been since they drafted Ricky Rubio, so it's even longer than I'm rooting for the Seahawks here. And in terms of football, European football, I'm 20 years of an Arsenal fan, which again, we have not won much during that time span. So in a way, I am a bandwagon fan because I was brought to care about Seattle after they won against the Broncos in the Super Bowl, but through a different reason that they just won. It was that a friend of mine who was a fan of American football before, or football, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my viewership are from Europe or from USA. I hope you both apologize, both of these names, for this amazing, the best sport in the world. I can say that. Even to my European guys that will probably takes, I don't want to say soccer, so football first. He encouraged me to bet some money on the Denver. He said Peyton Manning and the company, they are going to roll all over them. It's clear as hell. I mean, he kind of did not mention to me that he is a Broncos fan, so I think he was a bit biased. And I lost some money on that game. And before that year, I kind of always watched Super Bowl because it was such a huge event, but I was never a fan of this sport. I did not understand why people like it. I felt it's been, there's one play, then you have to wait, and it's it's a bit boring. Yeah, boy, was I dumb. I didn't understand the beauty of the sport, and after losing not a substantial amount of money, but some decent money on it, I was I don't want to lose money on something that I do not understand. So from that point, I started to follow Seahawks because they were the winner. And what really earned me to being a Seahawks fan was not the fact that they were a Super Bowl winner. It was the backstories of a lot of players. I mean, namely, you can say most of it was Richard Sherman. I was a huge fan of him. He is the only player I have some sort of jersey. It's not jersey, it's a t-shirt. You mad, bro? Famous line that he made towards Tom Brady at the end of one game. I liked his antics. I was amazed by his background, with Stanford degree, coming out of Compton, and I, then you go to Marshall Lynch, Russell Wilson, Legion of Boom, Michael Bennett. There were so many interesting players on that roster. Ricardo Lockett, Tyler Lockett, Dak Bolivin, man, I'm sorry. That's a bit of nostalgia for me. And then, to top all of it, was the fandom. The 12th man, the flag, the noise. Man, they just won me over. So, because of that, I started to be a fan of Seattle. I started to be pretty much a fan of football because I've learned during that summer and before the season, I've learned a lot about American football. And that's just the start of my journey. So you can call me a bandwagon fan, I won't mind, but truth to be told, I don't feel like one, because if the backstories weren't there, I just don't feel like I would have become a Seahawks fan. To me, it was much more about the adventure in a way of these guys rather than about them actually winning. And again, like we all know what happened the next year, and it still hurts, man. Like I don't think I could get hurt like this and not jump out of the bandwagon if like I was only there for success, man. So here we are. That's my backstory with the Seattle Seahawks. So this is a special episode to me. I hope you guys will enjoy. I hope I will do the best job possible to be impartial, and you will enjoy this. So with no further ado, that was the first topic. It's Pete Carroll. I have not experienced any other coach, so I'm not sure like how it's gonna feel not to see him running down the sideline, chewing gum, being absolutely crazy amount of energy guy that like he has more energy than I have, and he's like 2 times older than me. So it's gonna be weird, but in terms of successor, I feel like we find the right one, so I'm happy for that, but you will learn more about that in coaches department. But let's move from Pete for now, and let's talk about the other topics, and it's Legion of Doom. So when obviously I started to be a fan, there was a Legion of Boom here in Seattle, and it feels like with Jamal Adams trade and even Quandre Diggs being released this offseason, like these successors just have not worked out. Especially in terms of safeties, like I think Quandre Diggs like absolutely gave us his best. It's kind of harsh on him, to be honest. I think to be released, I feel like he only had 1 down year, but okay, I understand that. Like we are in part of rebuild, and with Jamal Adams, like what can you say? Like it just did not work out, partially because of injuries, partially because of his antics, and partially because he just is a unique player for the position. Let's go to this conversation. I was excited about Mike McDonald hiring because I thought that if anyone can make him a star player again, then it's Mike, because he found a role for Antonio Hamilton, who, at this point Jamal Adams is a worse player than Antonio Hamilton, but he's also like a unique guy that you cannot, like if you just assess him to one position on the pitch, he's not going to work. Like he's just not going to be at his best. And I feel like, Jamal Adams could have worked in this role for this defense, but I totally understand cutting him for the cap hit purposes was the right move. But unlike other, at least from what I have read, unlike other Seahawks fans, I'm absolutely up for the idea to bring him back 1 year, maybe minimum veteran contract. I like, even if it's like 3-4 millions, I don't care, and just try it. Try to bring him in as this versatile option that Mike McDonald will use to the best of his abilities. And if it doesn't work under him, I think like it's almost over for Jamal. I feel like for him it could be also a great chance to show the league that he's not done. So I hope he's gonna get re-signed for 1 year deal just to prove it, whether it could work or not. So with Legion of Doom, I am not being like absolutely fair to the secondary because they are nowhere near the Legion of Doom, but they are just not Legion of Boom 2.0. Though, with Devin Witherspoon as the leader in the cornerback room, I feel like maybe the future is more brighter than I'm painting it. But at the same time, you have to count in, like, there was Pete Carroll and defensive guru, and we were getting picked apart in terms of our defense, so that's just not what was expected, especially like with the investment that we made into Jamal Adams trade. But for guys that just want to hate on Jamal, I'm not one of them. Like I feel like the injuries were a big part of why he hasn't worked. And if you want to say that he is the guy that like kind of drags this team down because of how much we spent to get him, like obviously that trade did not work in our favor. But on the other hand, it was kind of like brought back because of Russell Wilson trade that definitely did not work out for Denver. So we got even more compensation for that guy. I'm sorry, Russell. I mean, you guys know that I absolutely love Russell, so that guy just doesn't cut it for me. So what we got for Russell? So I don't think that Jamal Adams trade just put us into a bad situation. It didn't work, but we got the picks other way around, and I feel like we had a clear chance. Then we can go to online, and I have not used this picture of a donut anywhere before, but I just really feel like that's the O-line in very short like description, because it's soft on the edges in terms of both Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas had down years. They could not stay healthy, and from what was originally like, we have found our franchise tackles, what was definitely a positive vibe with 2022. After 23, you are definitely not sure. You will definitely keep them around. But the problem is, like, they are probably the best asset we have on the O-line. And given their performance in 23, their injuries, that's not good. And in terms of inside, there is just hole. Like, to me, there is just not the quality there. So that's definitely an area that we will need to address, but we will talk more about that in terms of O-line rundown. So now let's take a look at what the Seahawks have done in 2023. To me, this season for Seattle was like very similar to what Jaguars had. In terms of after 22, there was a lot of expectation, a lot of, I would say, justified hype about both of the team. And despite actually, I think, hitting on the draft, like especially with Witherspoon, but even Jason Smith and Jingba, like maybe you expected slightly bit more, but he was good enough. Zach Charbonnet, okay, like maybe again you expected touch more, but like Witherspoon definitely gave you even more than you expected. So I feel like that was a good draft for Seahawks. We've hit on it. We had a couple of additional picks and we've hit on them. Yeah, a lot of time I will talk about we as for Seahawks, because it just comes natural for me. But despite that, like, this was a very disappointing season. Like, if we have beaten Steelers with Mason Rudolph at home, we would have made the playoffs. But still, like, the way the defense performed, that was definitely a huge disappointment. And it just did not felt like we are an adequate playoff team. Like, we could have made it, but I'm definitely unsure that we would make noise that like Packers made. So for like NFL purposes, the fact that they got there over us was probably better in terms of more entertaining games. Though we had really a fun one at Dallas like earlier in the season, so maybe the Dallas one would be as fun as the Packers one was. Might not have been just as dominant against Dallas. Okay. But still, it felt like we were worse team than we were in 2022, which is disappointing, because like 2022 should have been a rebuild year. We're essentially playing with house money, and we got a lot out of it. And then when you hit on your draft picks, you just expect to improve, and that just was not the case. Like I said, I think it's very similar to like where Jaguars were. We obviously were not close enough to win division because San Francisco just ran away with it, unlike Jaguars and their division. But it's a similar situation, and now we are kind of stuck in some ways in a purgatory. What does it mean? For guys that you are new to this channel, this means that we are good enough to maybe sniff a playoff game, but we are not good enough to make a noise there, and we are not bad enough to have like a top 5 pick. That's a problem. Like, that's not a situation you want to be in, like, ever, in my opinion, because that really does not put you quite nicely towards ever winning a Super Bowl, because it's just not an easy way out of there. But in terms of free agency, which is like where we are heading right now, I feel like the way Seahawks addressed this situation with the hiring of Mike McDonald and with the way they've treated the players, I feel like there is like mid rebuild that could actually put Seahawks out of this misery in terms of forever purgatory. That is, the most of this offseason was about like cleaning house in a bit after previous regime, not resigning some of the players like Will Disley, like Colby Parkinson, though I think they are nice players, but maybe not for what the offense wants to do right now or where it's supposed to be heading in the future. And getting rid of Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, aka expensive veterans that are not gonna be most or would not be at the peak of their powers when Seahawks should actually be like a great team again, which is not 2024. Spoiler alert. But we're gonna talk more about that with a rundown. I don't feel like there is that many like special players that would really be kind of worth in a way to just have this whole section. I think it's rather gonna be much more about how this, let's say, tiny little signing or this resigning or this cutting out, how this improves or weakens each and every single part of the roster. So with that, let's go to rundown, and we will start with weaponry. For you new viewers or the old viewers, this is the time when we check out who the players' faces are, who these guys are, so you get to meet them if you maybe are not like a huge fan, or you just like, it's super hard to know everyone but their faces when there's like 32 teams, 53 men on an active roster. So we are not going to show you every single one of them. It's most about key contributors in 2023 or free agents that I wanted to keep around, or the free agents that have been brought here, or the guys that I do expect to contribute 2024. So if you put your glasses on, we can start. And we will start with Geno Smith, Sam Howell, and Kenneth Walker. Then Zach Charbonnet, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Dwayne Eskridge, Jake Bobo, Will Disley, Noah Fant, Farron Brown, and that's it. Now what we are doing here is looking at what this team was in terms of free agency, in terms of before the free agency started for the season, how much they were paying the guys, what their contracts were, and then we go to where we are right now. So, the good thing about Seahawks is that you will not see a bunch of red numbers here, which would mean that they have money pushed down the road. That's something that Seahawks are good at. They have a clean house going forward. Let's start with quarterback room, Geno Smith and Sam Howell. For Geno, I think he's kind of on the verge to maybe being lowered to a decent starter by a... I still believe he's a good starter, but he's definitely a guy that I'm going to watch to see if his performance drops, and in that case I feel like he could be lowered. In terms of Sam Howell, again, kind of like I will bring another similarity with the Jaguars. They took young QB still on his rookie deal for, I'm not saying nothing, like it's just what's his third and fifth in exchange of fourth and sixth, so it's like definitely something. It's like value. It was like a 4th round pick, so it's not inconsequential, but it's not a huge problem. And with Sam, I would rank this similarly to what the Jags do, like from the perspective of Seahawks. Here you paid like a steeper price, but for a guy that actually put up, I would say, better performances last year, which is crazy because he was quite bad. But I like it much more from the position of Sam Howell rather than when Mac Jones went to the Jaguars, because like here, I definitely feel like if Geno Smith has health issues, which is definitely possible, he's not an Iron Man, then the position of a QB is kind of like up there to be taken from him. Like, I'm not saying that if Sam Howell steps on the field and shows he can just have his highs and not his lows, because his lows are really bad, then, you know, maybe he can compete for this job. So from his perspective, I like it much more than with Mac Jones. Also, like when we talk about these guys on rookie deals in terms of QBs that actually played in the league and kind of have not proved themselves to be starters in their franchises where they were drafted, again, this is just much better move than what Kenny Pickett has done with the Steelers to transfer to Eagles. Like, I just get with Mac Jones and with Kenny Pickett, these two moves are like you are getting behind the guy that's the guy for the team. Like, there's pretty much no chance you are overtaking that guy. Here, I think Sam Howell has a much better shot of doing that. So overall, this QB room, nothing special. It should give you decent floor, but the upside is probably not there. But like when I talk about a guy like Geno Smith, a guy like Daniel Jones, a guy like Derek Carr, I think these are the guys that if you are paying them the money that Seattle is paying to Geno, you can win with these guys, and maybe even you can hit a stretch and maybe you can compete for Super Bowl. I'm not saying like they are the guys you win Super Bowl because of, but you can win with them on this type of money. That's where I don't have much against like Derek Carr and Daniel Jones. I have everything against their contracts. Like, these are not the players worth north to 40 million a year. That's just like you are handicapping yourself way too much for a guy that is just going to be part of the roster, not young strength. So that's where I just like I have this with pretty much every QB about to get an extension or about to get paid. You have to be careful with these guys because you can get stuck in mediocrity, in purgatory with these guys. Especially they are kind of the main reason why I can do that, because they will be good. They won't let you lose every game, but at the same time they just won't bring the upside for the money we are paying them. You know, like I think if I'm paying a guy $50 million a year, that guy needs to be a reason for me to win a Super Bowl. He just cannot be part of it. Okay, let's move down the road towards running back room. I'm not saying this is like the best running back room by any stretch of imagination, but it's in a league where there is a lot of good running backs. This room is up there with like the B to B minus rooms. You have your number one, you have your number two. These are the guys that occasionally can win you games. They are not superstars, but they still can develop into superstars. And as a fan, I enjoy both of these guys playing. They play with their heart, they play with their strength, and yeah, this is a room you don't have to worry for 2 years. You hit on both of these guys. I mean, with Zach Charbonnet, maybe you can say like you would expect better production year one, but yeah, overall, like especially like when we will talk about, I mean, just remember the donut picture about this O-line. Like, it's not easy to run behind a mediocre O-line. Then we go to wide receivers. And again, this room is constructed quite nicely. You have your number one in DK. You have complementary number two in Tyler Lockett. And your guy, Jason Spig-Njigba, with like a skill set that's absolutely like suits this group. And I feel like he can be a long-term replacement for Tyler Lockett, who actually took a pay cut to stay with Seattle, because I feel like his cap hits, when we take a look at them, what they were before the free agency started, 27 and 26. So it was just slight pay cut and some restructuring. But overall, like they lowered that cap hit like 4 to 5 millions, which is, I still feel like for his production he might be a bit overpaid. Though I absolutely love Tyler Lockett. I actually know about him that he writes poetry. Like just one random thing about Tyler Lockett. And where I'm not that much concerned is like he's getting there with an age, but the way he plays, and sometimes it's where he gets criticized, is he treats himself almost like a QB. So he doesn't like to get hit. He slides, maybe, instead of getting that 1, 2, 3 yards more. He can make people miss, but it's not what he tries to do very often. He kind of plays it safe for his body, and I think that will allow him to prolong his career. So in that case, I'm not too worried about him being over 30 and actually dropping that high, because it's not like his speed is what makes him special. It's much more about his route running, his like being kind of the security blanket, being able to win his routes or even the contested catches, though he was not very good in that in 2023. But overall, like I'm not worried about Tyler Lockett, but I don't feel like he is there 2026 and forward, unless he takes really like kind of minimum type of deals, because at that point I feel like he's gonna be a good starter at best, because he is getting slightly worse, but just slightly, man. Jason Spaghetti liked the pick when they made it. He left something on the table in his first year, but I think you are confident with him going forward. Dwayne Eskridge, I only have him because he's a colossal bust. I'm not sure why he's still on the roster, maybe for some special teams thing, but yeah, he just never returned the value that we expected out of him. And then you have fan favorite in Jake Bobo, guy he is an undrafted guy last year, and he kind of wins heart of the 12th man with his passion for the football. He's playing hard, he's playing all out, and as your number 4, you have to be happy for him. He's definitely like the type of guy you want to have in the roster. And yeah, he's a hit, but he's not gonna be like you are not gonna expect him to have like 500 yards plus types of season. But for what he is, for what he serves a very good purpose here. Then in terms of tight end, bring him in Noah Fant for reasonable money. I feel like good move. He knows it here, and he knows how to work within this offense. No issue there. Faron Brown, kind of taking fire. He had shown a lot of good flashes last year, but not, I would say, like I have not seen enough of him on the field to like make him a guy I want to be my starter. But when we go down the route of draft, remember when I will be talking about there could be 4 wide receiver sets that I could really enjoy seeing out there. So that's your weaponry. The good room, it's not special room, it's a good room. It should give you pretty nice floor in terms of what can you do. But in terms of upside, I mean, I do not expect Gino to repeat 2022. I think down the line, he's going to be more 2023 version of himself. And that's a good QB, but I feel like if the board plays your way, you will take a QB, especially if it's somehow JJ McCarthy still on the board. If not, you will play it out with Geno Smith. You will take a look what you can have in Sam Howell, I would say, like especially on a camp. Like I'm not saying that Sam Howell is gonna see the field in actual regular games, but maybe you will go, okay, he might be our guy, and we might take a flyer on him next season. And yeah, that's pretty much what is there to say. Good room, nothing special, fun to watch. Love DK, love me some Tyler Lockett, love Burrow running back. Okay, I love this team, so let's move from that. Now, if you want to see and want to get to know guys in the O-line, now it's time to bring your attention to your screens. So you'll get another 10 seconds and then I will start running through them. Alright, let's go. Charles Cross, Olu Oluwatimi, Abraham Lucas, Phil Hines, Anthony Bradford. I mean, I could not resist having Pete Carroll here, at least his backside with Anthony Bradford, and Damian Lewis, with Nick Harris and George Fant. So, I already talked about the O-line before, and now it's time to check how these guys are actually ranked in my opinion. So here again, in the start of the offseason, there were a couple of guys on rookie deals, and that was it. So there was need to fill this one up, and I like both additions here. I like Nick Harris and I like George Fant, but overall you can see that my best grade for here is decent starter, which, you know, for top O-lines you might have that guy as a weak link, and here it's the best guy. Okay, so yeah, this O-line is definitely one thing that could drag this team down. But let's start with tackles. So Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas, and George Fant. Cross and Lucas are the guys I would be surprised if they are not starting, because you still see them as your future, especially Charles Cross. Like, you have invested in him, quite a high pick. And like, they shown that they could be franchise tackles, but they could not stay on the field and they did not follow their good rookie season with 2023 performance. So I would say they will start, but if they are bad, especially Abraham Lucas, or if they just cannot stay healthy, George Fant is very nice security blanket here. He's going to be tackle that, you know, is kind of on their level. So I expect them to, like, he can push these guys to the new heights because he's out there awaiting his opportunity, and bringing him here for like 4 million a year or 4.5 a year. Oh, it's 3.4 now and 5.6 next year. Yeah, man, I am absolutely, I would sign up for this move. Yeah, I like it. Then you go inside, and then you can see, like I said, that this inside is the worst thing, like almost in the entire football. Like, I don't want to be like miserable to these guys, but there's just not a starter in them at this point of, like, I'm not happy with either of these guys starting. But there is some promise. So Nick Harris brought here for 1 year, kind of prove a deal for 2.5 million. He brings some like decent option, and what's like interesting about him is he was said to be guy to actually play in the Browns O-line. That's been one of the best. And then he got injured and lost that job to Ethan Pocic, who you remember as a Seahawks fan from here. And he just kind of never got that opportunity back. So, you know, when you are set to be a starter for the Browns O-line, maybe there's something in you. So I hope he can prove it, but I'm not expecting like too much of him. Anthony Bradford, like, he looked okay. I don't want to say decent. Like, he looked like he could be eventually starting guard, but I don't feel like he should be starting. He probably will be, but yeah. And that's like, he's still probably your second best piece in the interior, or maybe your best piece, which is really worrying. The left guard, I'm not sure. You know, maybe they will try to put like just slide one of the tackles inside. But overall, this is very bad group. One of the worst O-lines, if not the worst O-line in the league. There is an upside. There is definitely an upside if Nick Harris shows why he was almost starter for Browns. If Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas take like 4-year leaps, the same could be for Anthony Bradford in second year. Like, we can end up to have 2 very good starters, 1 good starter, or actually 2 good starters and someone. You know, I really don't. I'm really not sure like who the the other guard is. It's probably going to be someone from the draft, but like the upside is there. Like this is a young O-line that has potential. You've invested in this, some picks, but as a floor, yeah, it's really not good. And there are like the fact that you already have injury concerns for both of your young tackles. It's a worry. So yeah, that's the O-line. Definitely something to. If Seahawks have a miserable season, it's more than likely that you will point to this O-line and you say like this was just not good enough. So now let's go and meet the defensive line and linebackers. Again, I will give you a couple of seconds to check your screens and we will start after that. So Damon Jones, Jaron Reed, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, Leonard Williams, Uchema and Vosu, Brian Moore, Cameron Young, Jonathan Hankins. Jonathan Hankins. Okay, why am I struggling with this name? Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson, Jerome Baker, and John Rattigan. Okay, so here we were before the offseason started. You can see several big names like Leonard Williams, Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks not being under contract for this year, and here is how it resolved. So both of the linebackers are gone, and like I hate it for Bobby Wagner not to be back. I understand it. I understand from the perspective like Mike wants to go with new guys, wants to take it like his way. And it's also like Bobby is not great coverage linebacker. Like he just isn't. He's a great one. Like he might still be the best linebacker against the run or one of the best, but in terms of coverage, he's a weakness in a way. Like he's not like Jamal Adams type of weakness, but he is definitely not a strength. Let's put it this way. And then Jordan Brooks, he had really poor season in his contract year. I'm kind of okay with letting him go. It's linebackers. I already told you several times how I feel about them. And they kind of tried to like address the situation with a guy like Tyrell Dodson. And okay, we'll start with linebackers here. And with Tyrell Dodson, he was a number 1 PFF ranked linebacker last season. But he's done it on like not that many snaps. Like I think he played somewhere in like 200, 300 type of count. Let me check. Oh, it was actually almost 600. Okay, but yeah, it was like half of the season, but it was 600 snaps almost, so that's better. Yeah, he missed like starting weeks of the year. So that was like the huge revelation on a fan page or official page, like we get the best linebacker per PFF. Okay, we do, but that was his 4th year in the league, and he was horrendous linebacker the previous season. Like all of them, he was just absolutely below average. And with the same PFF that grades him in over 90 for 2023, like if you combine his 2020 and 2021, that's 110 grade. So he had like 55 on average. And then in 22, he had only 48. So like he was below average, borderline bad linebacker for first 3 years. And it's not like he's gotten the snaps. Like he did not put up enough snaps to be like ranked normally. So he was just like, he was not out there. He's pretty much like 10 games wonder. Will he continue to do that? I think the 1 year 4.2 million kind of says it all. Like if he does, he could do it here under Mike McDonald. I would not be surprised a bit. But does the league believe it's gonna happen? Yeah, the judge. I let you be the judge, guys. But I like the signing. Like you are taking a guy that, again, with linebackers, he took a while to figure it out. He had very impressive end of the season. you sign him to 1 year. So if he does not continue play very well, you are not committed to him. And if he does, then you are in a good position to bring him back to a long-term deal, and you were kind of like, I mean, you are happy with that, obviously. So the thing with him is like decent starter is like a weird, like he's a really tough guy to judge because he did not get to see the field for most of his 4 years. When he did, he was bad up to that like 10 stretch games that he had ending the season. So he's definitely a guy that could be in the middle of the season. He can be good backups. I think even solid backup, he could drop down to, because that was his play before that stretch. Or he could jump up to an amazing starter if he follows up on what he did with the full season. I think at the end of the season, he is an amazing starter. So huge wild card. He most likely is going to end up somewhere in the middle, becoming like a decent to good starter, but definitely an interesting name. Other than that, John Rattigan, Chenanvosu is gonna be playing more not definitely like that middle inside linebacker type of role very much. So I'm not gonna talk about him at this point. I think like he's gonna be much more of a edge guy or pass rusher here. And yeah, for linebackers, I kind of like what they've done. Both of these guys are like decent enough, but you might miss a floor here. But it's one of the positions that if your guys are truly dreadful, it's not going to hurt as much as other positions. Then with the D-line, I think that this is the group that I'm going to be watching probably the most, because there is a lot of investment into this group in terms of high draft picks or higher draft picks, not like necessarily top 10 draft picks, but like second round and stuff, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall. Also, you can count Leonard Williams there because you actually spent second round for him. It was via trade, but who cares? And I feel like you have not tapped into the potential of these guys as much as I would like to. And I'm really interested if Mike McDonald can, because he kind of done it in Baltimore. Justin Madubike had an absolutely astonishing season under him. Jadeveon Clowney, kind of the same. And I think you have enough talent within this group that you don't address this position in draft. You trust what you have. I mean, you kind of did with Leonard Williams spending the second round, so I would say that's enough. And just, Mike, this is kind of what we brought you for. Like, I'm going to be definitely judging his first season a lot under evaluation of this group of guys, because I really believe there could be something quite nice here within these players, within their potential, and it's up to Mike to unleash that. So overall, like, you don't have a superstar here. You have interesting guys. Definitely like what you see with Boye Mafe last year. Leonard Williams, he is a stable, very good player. I'm a bit worried about Damon Jones and his contract. Like, he definitely, in terms of ranking and the contract, he's overpaid as hell. But let's hope there was a reason why he was brought here, and that the quality can be brought back with Mike. Overall, this should not be the group that loses you a lot of games, and there's an upside for them to might even eventually be identity of this team under Mike. But overall, it's like C- group at this point, like C to C-. You are definitely missing a star here, and you have good players. Jerome Baker, Uchenna Nwosu, Leonard Williams. Like, there are several good players here, so I'm not like very worried about this group, but I just cannot rank them more than like C to C- because you are missing that alpha guy, and Jamon Jones is like overpaid as hell. And there are a lot of better D-lines in the league at like in terms of what they actually show. What they could show, yeah, I think they could be as good as like 10th best D-line in the league under Mike McDonald. Like I trust that the talent it's there. So this is definitely a group I would not spend draft picks. Maybe, you know me, linebacker in 4th or 5th round. Let him be the guy that 2 years you are absolutely happy that he's shit and he hopefully figures it out for year 3 and 4. You get good linebacker with like 5th down for 2 years, and then you decide if you pay him or not. But I would not spend anything higher than that, like maybe end of 3rd round, but yeah, not likely. So that's that for the D-line and linebackers. Nothing to be super worried about. And like because of the coach, I'm excited for the group. If this was under the previous regime, I just don't feel like they could tap into potential of these guys as much as I would like to. So I kind of trust Mike more in this than I did trust Pete last year. And definitely, if you want to talk about the most exciting players here, it's Boya Mafe and Tyrell Dodson. Like these guys, if they follow up on what they showed in last year production, they could be, I would not say superstars right away, but they could get to that tier 2 on their positions. Now it's time to meet the secondary. So again, you can put your glasses back on, check your screen, because here they come. Yeah, let's go. Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Julian Love, Devon Witherspoon, Trey Brown, Tariq Woolen, or Rick, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jackson, I mean, kind of cool names, Rayshon Jenkins, and Kevon Wallace. So here we are before the offseason started, and here we are right now. So what you can see is they got rid of both Jamal Adams, and Quandre Diggs. They saved like 12 million on Quandre and not that much on Jamal for this season, but they got rid of at least 2025 that cap. So it's 30 million in that cap for these two guys who were on contract for like 80 million, if I'm counting correctly. So yeah, you are still on the hook for a third of that, but given that this is not the year you optimizing, I am absolutely okay to like eat your vegetables this year and, you know, maybe look at for the nice juicy steak next season, or like anything that you absolutely like, because right now this is the year that you kind of stomach that cap hits. Who did they brought to replace these guys? Rayshon Jenkins, who's been released, I believe it's from Jaguars, if I'm not overly mistaken, and Kevon Wallace. It's a good thing you have Julian Love. He was the best performing safety last season, so the fact that you still have him under contract for just 8 million, it's definitely great for you. And with Jenkins and Wallace, you are getting good pieces. I'm not overly excited in either one of them. There is a reason Rayshon was released. He was not performing up to the contract, obviously much higher contract than he signed with Seattle. So I'm not worried. For the money, you got good guys, you needed to fill those positions, but I would still think about drafting safety like with some of the premium picks, and we don't have them right now, but with the draft strategy that I've came up, maybe we can get some of the second round picks where I would probably address this position. Different situation is for the cornerback room, which is great. Like, it's in a great shape. You have Devon Witherspoon, who, if there is one guy I could expect to challenge Sauce Gardner for the best corner in the league in the years to come, I think Devon could be that guy. He might reach an elite status as soon as this year, in my opinion. Like, he was excellent his first year. But even if he reaches elite status, there is elite status and there is Sauce Gardner. Like, this guy is just absolutely flying over anyone. So for Devon to reaching his level, it's definitely going to be super, super hard. But I see in him the potential. for this. And even if he does not reach that, I think he can be definitely top 5 corner in the league as soon as really 2024. Like, he is that good in my opinion. So as your number 1, you are absolutely thrilled. You have him under contract for 4 more years, because unless injury happens, I just don't see how you don't pick up his 50-year option, because I just don't see how he would drop off. Then you have Rick Woolen, who you hit on with a late round pick. Like, he did not get interceptions that he got in 2022, and like, to some people that might be like where they kind of realize that he is just not the most amazing player, because like for the first part of 2022 he was showing up with the stat sheet almost every single week. So there was like a misconception about Reek that he is, like shutdown corner or whatever. He's much more of a risk taker. Like, I would compare him to like a guy like Darren Bland. Like, he has mistakes in coverage, he takes risk, and he can get beaten quite heavily. But he has quite a nice ball hawking ability, ball hawking skills. And as your number 2 to your hopefully shutdown corner and Devon Witherspoon, that's a great pairing, especially like when you found him in like 5th or 6th round. Like, it's great. And then you have Michael Jackson, Trey Brown, Kobe Bryant, guys that are absolutely apart to be your third best cornerbacks. I would expect Michael Jackson to start alongside Witherspoon and Woolen, but we will see about that. I think this room is in a great state in terms of cornerbacks, in terms of safeties. I would invest a pick here, but overall secondary could definitely, like from Legion of Doom, which I was like untruthfully kind of shaming this defense like much more than they would. I should have, to actually Legion of Doom 2.0. I can see that, man. I can definitely see that with Devon being a leader of that group. I think there is quite enough potential to, bring some memories back. But we'll see. Overall, this is one of the better secondaries in the league. I'm not gonna call them top, but borderline top 10, I think they are. And there is a lot of potential to improve on that. So definitely a room that you are excited to watch, and hopefully it can be a really big strength of this team. So now let's go to coaches and special teams. So Mike Macdonald as a head coach, I am thrilled about this hire because he is one of the best defensive minds in the football, and I feel like given the talent that this team has, what we've done with defense, it was not good enough. Despite having Pete Carroll, it wasn't working, and it wasn't working for a couple of years. It's not like this team lacks talent defensively, but they just could not bring it to the pitch. So for that, I'm really happy. It's Mike Macdonald here. With Durde, he was a D-line coach in Dallas, which means he worked with really, like I would say, how to say it nicely? Okay, shit ton of talent there, But, again, like when you are looking at this defense, I feel like in terms of safeties, you have good veteran options. And in terms of cornerbacks, you have guys that will kind of improve no matter what because they are that good, especially Devon. And the biggest focus to me is on the D-line. And, having McDonald, I feel like that could really put this D-line on the map because the talent, I trust is there, but I want to show, I hope that the world's going to see it this year. So I like these hires. With Ryan Grapp, I'm not necessarily going to say I have a problem with, but when you would rank offensive coordinators, he's going to be in the bottom tier for sure. Like, he is so unproven. Like, he comes from Washington University. It's his first NFL job. And it's not like he is just a guy next to offensive head coach, because that's not what Mike Macdonald is here for. So, yeah, I think in any case of judging him, he's gonna be bottom tiers until he proves himself. He has a job cut out for him, especially with O-line. But in terms of Geno, he has an experienced, good enough QB. There's a plethora of weaponry here, so I do not mind bringing him, because if he, like, there's definitely a reason why you brought him in. Like, I'm just not very familiar with him, and if he shows that he is somehow this brilliant mind, then great. And you still probably can keep him for a couple of years, because like he will still be like super green to everyone, like super raw. And if he's bad, it's not like this is the year that you necessarily invested heavily in. So if he's bad, you just fire him and bring another OC for next year. It's not like you have QB on a rookie deal, first year with a new offensive coordinator, and you need the stability for certain, because if that was the case, I would hate this hire in a way. But because it's not, like, I hope that Ryan is gonna show everyone, especially me, that he is worth this position. But he is definitely a wild card to me. In terms of special teams, Michael Dixon came back last season. He is a bit of up and down guy, but to me he is the top 10 punter in the league. He's not up there with the best, but about the 10th place is where I would rank him. With Jason Myers, he had like slightly worse season, but I would still feel like he's in the same breath as like Michael Dixon. Slightly above average, nothing like super special, but he can have special seasons, but not the most consistent guy sometimes. So special teams should not be a problem for Seattle. And if anything, they could be a strength if both of these guys hit their highs. Their highs are as high as like top 5 guys on their position in the league. So why not? Okay, that was my mouth, that was nothing else. That was my mouth, man. And here, because we are in Seattle, I want to give something more than I usually do. So I actually prepared more tables, and this one will be about draft. So with the draft, Seattle is not in best of positions, because spent second round pick to get Leonard Williams. And also we brought Sam Howell here, which means that our third round pick has been sent to Washington, but that's a next year third round. So we still have third round for the season with 81 pick, then 102nd, 118 in fourth round. We are missing fifth, but 2 picks in sixth round. So overall, like, what is the situation with premium picks? There's an additional fourth, but we are missing second. And when you look at the pick 16, what is the situation on the board? Most likely. So if somehow JJ McCarthy or any other like premium QBs fall into draft this late, some, like similar to Will Levis, who was predicted as high as like number 3 last year, or even number 2 on some mock draft, and he felt like late first round, or actually he was the first pick in second round, something like that. So after 30, if that's the case, I feel like that's definitely a spot that you just don't look left or right. We take our guy and we are figuring out the successor to Geno Smith. But there's definitely not a pressure to move up for that guy. I feel like it would be a mistake to do it, like a huge one actually. Like, I would hate if we sold our future to get JJ McCarthy with like number 6 pick or whatever. Like, I would really hate that move. And if the guy is not up there, you are good to go with Geno Smith, and you can see, maybe Sam Howell could somehow be the guy again. If not, doesn't matter. Like, you can address the situation next year. So no freaking pressure. Unless the draft falls your way, don't do anything into the quarterback room. But what you should do with the number 16 pick. So in most of the situation, the board will play out that there is good tackles, good cornerbacks, and good D-line players on the board at that point, like that are worth picking with number 16 pick. And when you look at this Seattle Seahawks team, with tackles, you don't invest into the group for sure. With cornerbacks, the same. With D-line, there might be thinking that you might want to, but I would say like we've invested enough. Now it's time to coaches to bring the best out of them. So it's definitely a spot to trade down. I feel like given that these are positions that are actually quite valuable all over the league, cornerbacks, edge guys, and tackles, I feel like Seattle will have several proposals for that number 16 pick. So I've made several mock drafts how they could play out. And the thing is, with all of these drafts, let's just remember it's done by the PFF mock draft simulator. So I'm not sure how accurate this is, or like the draft grades they are giving, how good they are. But what I've tried to like show you guys here, again, if you want to put your glasses back on, now it's actually the time, it's a bit of a surprise, but let's go for it. What I take them on face value is the trades that I've been proposed by the machine had like around 50% of being accepted. So based on the value of the picks that have been traded, that it should be fair to both sides. I'm not saying like San Francisco would have trade up for number 16 pick for sure. But in terms of what value we've got for this, I think it should be fair, at least by PFF standards. So here's the first option where we traded with 49ers. We've got late first round, late second, and second for next season. And we used our top 3 picks to draft 2 inside offensive linemen in Zach Frazier, in Christian Haynes. I feel like you can definitely invest 2 picks into that if you have more picks. I'm not going to invest 16 and 81 if they are the only picks I have in the first 3 rounds. But if we trade down, I am definitely not against taking 2 guys to that inside of offensive line, because I think it's a huge issue. With Zach Frazier, you can argue, well, maybe center is not the need. I feel like with the way the guard market kind of went a bit crazy this offseason, I would not be surprised if we saw several centers actually trying to be moved to guards, especially with rookie guys, where center is much more position that you need experience and not that much of like body mass, I would say. Because you need to organize double teams, you need to communicate with a quarterback. So maybe that's actually a good thing for young centers, that they could play as guards for first or second season, and then just they could slide back to center later. So I'm happy with this draft. It addresses all the position I want to address, with Cameron Kitchens being that potential safety that could actually play himself up into the squad, into even starting squad, because I don't feel like the necessarily like either Jenkins or Wallace jobs are safe. And I'm just throwing bodies into the inside O-line and hope it stinks, because it stinks now and I hope it sticks. Yeah, that's no, I don't hope it stinks, I hope it sticks, because it stinks now. And with this, I also got extra second round for next season. So in case you would see someone on the board that you like, maybe you could trade up, but I have not done that. Another potential is more trades. In this, we kind of sacrificed something from next year, because we sent 6th rounder to Miami and 4th rounder to Tampa, and we traded down twice in the process. What that gave us is actually 3 picks in top 60 instead of 1. And here, again, we are addressing that inside O-line. Now it's Jackson Powers-Johnson. I would say with him, it's similar to Zach Frazier. I feel like he is the center that can play guard in his first year. And again, we are addressing safety, but with, I would say, a better option in Jaden Hicks. And then Xavier Worthy. And this is the guy that you will see actually in the next mock draft as well. And he is the speedster from the combine. He ran like 4:21. And when I was talking about like 4 wide receiver set, I would be intrigued to see like DK Metcalf and Xavier Worthy like just running deep and like occupy defense with their speed, and let Jason Smith-Njigba and Tyler Lockett like work the middle of the field, work the short routes, because it could really be like tough one to handle for defenses. So if Xavier Worthy is up there, I am taking him. Like, I think he's the guy that if you have that pick, and in this case we did have maybe an extra luxury pick in a way, I'm taking Xavier Worthy with that pick. And here you can see like we actually took a linebacker in 3rd round, which is as high as I would draft a guy, but it felt like there was not great O-line options at that point. There were no great offers, so it's like, okay, we take this guy. We still have our 4th round 102nd 118 pick, which definitely we will take another flyer and best O-lineman that's out there at that point of time. But this again, the same kind of the same needs that it addresses, but it also brings Xavier Worthy to the table, and I feel like he could be a very nice weapon for the Seahawks, because Gino has not Russ Wilson deep balls, but he is not afraid to let it rip, and he has arm talent to do it. So Xavier Worthy and DK Metcalf with Tyler Lockett and Jason Smith-Njigba could be a fun thing to watch. And the last mock draft I've done, here we again traded down twice. Now you see 5 picks. It's quite a similar one. You actually see 3 players that you have seen before, and the guy that we have taken in different mock draft. But here we got an extra 3rd round pick. We only sacrificed next year 6th, and we are getting Mason McCormick as another body into that inside of the O-line. So overall, my strategy for the draft is, unless there is JJ McCarthy up there, let's trade down. Let's take inside O-line, even 2 bodies. I'm not worried about like spending the picks there, because yeah, man, that's not a nice group. And if you have an extra picks, Xavier Worthy is out there, you take him, and after that I would focus on safety group. So overall, where do we stand with Super Bowl window for this team? Let's talk about division first. I feel like you can argue that having Aaron Donald retire is absolutely great for you. And as a fan, I am super happy that I won't see him murder Geno Smith 2 times a year, especially with that inside that we currently have. But on the other side, like if he was still out there, I'm an inside offensive lineman, either guard or center, and I feel like I need to play Aaron Donald twice a year. Man, I would be trying. Like, I don't think there is a better motivation than actually having to face Aaron Donald twice a year that for guard or center to just put on his time in the weight room and just try to be the best version of himself. So it obviously looks as absolutely great thing for Seahawks, but there is another thing where it could be a bit of a downfall of long-term success, beside the fact that he could actually train our guys in a way as more of a fun thing. But I would say with him retiring, the Rams are getting dragged down a bit for what they are this season, because they could have been quite an interesting team with Aaron Donald out, and you still have quite a huge cap hits that you have to pay this and next year. You have to, as a Seahawks, you have to play Rams twice. And with Donald, I don't think we would be favorites in those games. I mean, obviously it will depend on momentum and injuries, etc. But I feel like we would be a worse team as it stands right now. With Donald out, the expectation is that we should win either one or even both games against the Rams, which in a way kind of leaves you more in like a bigger purgatory, because it allows you to get some extra wins, but it doesn't change the scope of your chances to win a Super Bowl. Like with Aaron Donald retiring, your chances may go up like 0.2%. It's not super significant, but actually towards where you will draft next season, because he is definitely directly involved within your division, you definitely expect to draft higher because of Aaron Donald retirement. Oh, I mean lower, because you are expected to win more games. So that could be a bit of a problem, but yeah, that's just it for Rams. In terms of division, I feel like San Francisco is going to be favorites for this year and next year. That's their window. They will push the money towards that window. I am pretty much certain of it. It's the window where they don't have to pay Brock Purdy anything. So it's going to be hard to match what San Francisco is. Definitely this season, like maybe next year you can make some arguments if things hit that, yeah, we can match them. But at this point, I feel like what you should be focusing on is 2026 and beyond. So up to that point, you are kind of set with quarterback, but do you really believe in Geno Smith's long-term future here, like 26 past? I don't. So you will need to address this situation, and you draft young players to develop, especially the O-line, to bring, I would hope, young QB for the situation next season. It could also be that maybe this defense is special and there could be some veteran QB on the market that's like, okay, give me that, and DK Metcalf and Jason Smith and Jigba and good running backs, and let's go for it. So maybe that's the case for next year, but I'm not sure who could that be. So it's much more likely that we would go route with a young QB, and we'll see if we draft him this year or next. Overall, I would say for this season, the window is pretty closed. For next, it could get open a bit especially if the D-line steps up and if we can fill the O-line with good players and actually make it a serviceable O-line. The window could open, but overall, the year that I see Seahawks as potentially a team that will not surprise me to win Super Bowl is 2026, where the division could get easier because of San Francisco eventually having to pay Brock Purdy or let him go. And I'm not seeing like any great trajectories for Rams or Cardinals. Like they could improve if things go their way, but it's not a certainty that Sean McVay is gonna still be with San Francisco, with Rams. I'm sorry. And with Arizona, I mean, they are still in the semi-rebuild process, so we are not sure how that ends. Overall, 2026 feels like a year for Seahawks. 24, I kind of expect to be good, not great, not bad, and we will see down the road if things will stick. So there were your Seahawks or mine Seahawks. It's probably gonna be on the longer side of episodes, but it's just you kind of you know what you were signing up for when you saw the badge. So I'm sorry, but no sorry. That's all from me today. We are almost in the middle of this Road to Super Bowl series that we're trying to make and get to you guys before the draft starts. So wish us luck, give us likes and subscriptions if you want to support this effort, and thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. And for last, let's go Hawks. 12? You can see 12 guys? Yeah, that's a week. Bye.